So with that, we'll now get to the topic of actually running your business and running it as a founder. So I'll ask to the stage Pekka Parnanen, our long-time fan already at many of the conferences, started in a similar position that Andrus is helping Estonian entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. Pekka has been helping Finnish entrepreneurs, more on the public organization side, but now running Mad Partners to help anybody actually to go to the US. And the topic of the discussion will be both going abroad and thinking how to do that well as just like what the panelists have found during their days of running the business. So Pekka can introduce the people once you sit down and everybody can introduce them. So Karoli, Silver, Kristel, Marko, please, good luck.
You can take all the seats. All right, tere hommikust. Good morning, everybody. It's an honor to be here. I've been here a few times before, and I just love the energy, what's happening here in Latitude and with the startups. So I also wanted to do a panel that's really talking about the founder's perspective. And then also what I wanted to kind of check that they promise to be open. And this is what, take a picture of that. They promised, I did not put their cell phone numbers, but they promised to give you their cards after this too, so, right? Did we agree that? I think we did, right? So, search them afterwards for these 2 days. So these are perfect people, and myself, you come to talk to us. Since we are in the Nordics, I'm really happy to have a panel that has 2 female founders. Give that an applause, right? So it's an equal opportunity here, 50-50, and I'm not in the panel, so you don't count me in over there. So let's get started. So one of the things, you guys pitch so many times, but now again, you got to do it. You're pretty famous, some of you guys over here, but let's have everybody to tell briefly, your name, what you're doing, and what the company's doing.
All right, I'm going to start. So hello, my name is Kristel Viidik, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Testlio. And Testlio is a community of software testers that test mobile apps. And I founded the company back in 2012, and now we are a team of 40 people. We have offices in San Francisco and Tallinn, and we have raised 7.5 million in total today in funding.
All right, good. And we'll go through that, how to raise money, what was, how beautiful that is, right? So we'll go into those details a little bit later. Silver.
Hi, my name is Silver Keskküla. I was the first research engineer for the core team at Skype, and now I'm a co-founder of Teleport, and we help people figure out where to live, and then we help them to get there.
All right, thank you. Marko?
Hi. Hi, my name is Marko. I'm the founder and CEO of AppGyver. And what we do is a visual app development platform for creating enterprise apps. And we've been around for a couple of years now. We have around 200,000 developers around the world who are building applications with our platform.
And Karoli.
Hello, my name is Karoli, and I'm the founder and CEO of Jobbatical. Jobbatical is a marketplace for one-year tech jobs in far-flung cities of the world. Because, surprise, surprise, people, for example, in New York City, they don't wake up in the morning thinking that their next career destination is Estonia. But what we do, we attract them to mix together their travel aspirations and career and take a journey in a local team in Estonia, Singapore, Malaysia, and other countries in the world. And we are actually 1 year old only, and we have now offices in Tallinn and Singapore. Team of 15, we have raised altogether $2.9 million.
All right, good. So this is an interesting setup of companies. So they kind of, I learned a new term yesterday I didn't know, but it's called nomad stack. So Jobbatical and the Teleport belong to that. And then there's a developer stack, with AppGyver and Testlio. So, there's been already in the morning some discussions about the, should you be in Silicon Valley, should you be here, or should you be there? So that's kind of an interesting topic, and there's certain reasons here, and not everybody, already we heard, not everybody needs to be in Silicon Valley. Some companies do. But we can go to that a little bit later. One of the things what I really want to know that, why the hell did you found your company? What was the reason behind it? How did you get into that? Marko, you want to start?
Sure, I can start. Well, as we make visual app development tools for creating applications, I'm personally a programmer, and I've always been interested in creating enterprise software. I've done that for 15 years. When Apple released the App Store and mobile became big, I saw a huge opportunity in how to mobilize businesses. However, I'm not a mobile app developer, and I saw that it got very expensive to create mobile applications. So I was actually first looking for tools to create applications faster myself. And there was no great stack available for doing that, and that was the foundation of AppGyver.
All right, anybody else? Kristel.
Yeah, sure. So I think that's something why people start companies. It's usually because of a problem that they had, and the same thing happened to me, right? So back in 2012, I moved away from Estonia to London. I continued my career as a software tester, and at the same time, I just started to look for additional opportunities to improve my skills as a software tester. And then I found out about different crowdsourced testing sites, and I was just really fascinated about the idea that testers from all over the world just test apps together and report bugs and get paid for it, right? And I really liked that idea, but just after a couple of months, I was so frustrated because my time as a tester wasn't appreciated, and so I felt that I need to fix that problem, and that's why I started Testlio.
Silver, Karoli, you want to?
Yeah, so in my case, I've lived in 9 countries by now, and when we started Teleport, I had lived in 6. And being born in Soviet Union, I obviously do not really want to see that the chance of being born somewhere should define your life in any way. So just seeing what freedom of being able to move and go anywhere had given to me, just felt like such a no-brainer to see if we could give this freedom to everybody and have governments compete for every citizen.
Karoli?
Yes, I started to connect the dots. So I actually started my first company when I was 16. So I have been in this corner of the earth country, Estonia. I have been building teams for now almost 15 years. And I started to knowing how difficult it is to access international talent or talent with international experience in places like that, and also observing my circle of friends, how people are much more comfortable moving around, changing their locations, living in 9 countries. Why don't we kind of funnel those 2 things, that teams who want to build global businesses can access people who are willing to move around? So that was the beginning of Jobbatical and the reason behind it. I hope we will improve the access for Estonian talent pool with that.
Okay.
So all about the country.
All right, cool. So let's go back a little bit, checking out, the Silicon Valley story that, do you need to be there and why, if you are there, why you are there. So Silver, you want to start? Because, that is where Teleport in a sense started, but that, can you tell a little bit, talk about that?
Sure. I think you should definitely ask yourself the question, like, are you at the right place and at the right time? And I don't think enough people are doing that often enough. And I spent 5 years in Silicon Valley, and then I sort of woke up and discovered that, hey, I was actually working remotely. I was working at the Skype office in Palo Alto, but I was mostly working with the Estonian team in Tallinn. And five years into that, I realized that, hey, I could have lived anywhere. It didn't really matter where I was. And I was quite frustrated with myself, like not noticing that I have this freedom. And most people who are doing knowledge work, they have that freedom, or they will have that freedom. And it's that's one reason, like, to ask yourself, are you in the right place? And I guess in the context of startups, when founding a startup, I think there's Silicon Valley is probably full of startups that should be asking themselves, are they in the right place, and what's the reason to actually be there? I think Silicon Valley is an amazing place, and you can meet awesome talent there. You can meet amazing people. There's huge networks. There's a lot of capital. So if those are the things you're after, then Silicon Valley is definitely the right place. But maybe if you're a little startup that's still trying to figure out product market fit, then you don't need the closeness to clients that are there, or your clients are all over the world, then maybe you should not be paying $4,000 for a tiny apartment. And maybe even if you raise your round, maybe you should not be just subsidizing local real estate market and putting that investment money into real estate. So I think those questions are all valid. Like, are you at the right place, and is this the right time to be at that place?
Okay, Kristel, I mean, you can probably pick it up from there, and there's you have people, quite many people actually in San Francisco. So.
Yeah, you came by my office, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Nice
I
office,
think
by the way.
Silver made a great point that yeah, you can have people all over the world, but like maybe at that point when you're building your company, you want to be close to your customers, you want to be close to your investors, you want to build your network. Then for us right now, Silicon Valley is the place to be because we have a lot of customers in California, like I mean LA, San Francisco, and so we just want to be, and also we want to be close to our investors, right? We want to be able to build the relationships, and then yeah, we will see where the future brings us.
So when you looked at that, so do you remember the first time you went there and seriously set yourself there that, okay, we got to have our office here and our presence?
So it was like an interesting story. So I never thought about setting up a company actually, or setting up an office in San Francisco. So when we started with Testlio, I went through an accelerator program in the US called Techstars, and we went to Techstars in Austin, Texas, and that was in 2013. And at that point, I was pretty sure that like we're gonna set up an office in Austin because it was like a lot cheaper to live there, and just like the costs were so much lower. But then we were like a team of 5 people, and one of our advisors in Austin told us that you need to hire a salesperson so you can grow the business and push yourself to the corner. And then yeah, basically we got an introduction to an awesome girl named Michelle Surya, who basically lived in San Francisco, and she was just working at a startup that was acquired by Google in Silicon Valley, and we had like an immediate connection. And up until a year, we were basically just like all over the world. Like we didn't have an office in Silicon Valley, but then when she hired her first team member, we decided that we have to be there. So
Okay.
and close to each other.
So, Karoli, you wanna?
I would look, even though we don't have office in Silicon Valley, and there's a core reason for it. Our clients are not in Silicon Valley, but our users are. So, but what I wanted to say about Silicon Valley, it's interesting because we talk a lot about Silicon Valley. At the same time, sitting here in Tallinn or sitting in Singapore or sitting all over the world and dreaming of building our own Silicon Valleys. And the core, I don't know if you know, but for example, the Silicon Valley, 74% of computer science and mathematical employees are between 25 and 44 are foreign born. So one of the key things about Silicon Valley, why it is great, is the diversity of the talent pool. And in many ways, what we want to do is create those Silicon Valleys and help to create those funnels so that people would kind of make their dreams of our local European Silicon Valleys or our Asian Silicon Valleys into actual reality. So.
Yeah, I mean, over half of the CEOs in startups in Silicon Valley are non-US born, so.
And actually, 51% of the unicorn companies are founded by immigrants. So it's interesting statistics from the States.
So
I
Marko,
think maybe looking outside
Go ahead.
Silicon Valley, it's this access to talent. Silicon Valley has this amazing talent, and they're all there, but not everybody can go to Silicon Valley. So there's still like 95% of world's talent, technical talent even, is outside Silicon Valley. So you have access to these smart individuals there, but when you're willing to look outside as well, then you have access to the rest. So I think this is a good mission that we both look at that.
And that's the nice segue, Marko, when you look at your setup. So, development is in Finland, and then, you have the customer-facing, setup in Silicon Valley. But for you, what was your reason to be there? And how important would that be to you? And when you're there, so how the hell do you handle the 10-hour time difference?
Yeah. To Silver's point about when you should be there or should you be there, I think that's a great point. We at AppGyver, we went to San Francisco already at the really early stages of the company. But the reason for us was that because of our product, which was like cutting edge development platform, we knew that Silicon Valley in some ways is a couple of years ahead of the rest of the world. And at least we wanted to know what's available, what do people think currently in companies and so forth. But we went back then to Finland, and I've been going back and forth between San Francisco and Finland ever since. But we never had very many people there. Our development is in Finland, but because of our partners and some of our larger customers are from there, and over time when our developer ecosystem grew, we saw that over 30% of our developers are from the US. So it made sense at a certain point to, actually it was this year that we hired our first US-based person, our CCO. And now that we see certain growth in revenues and also larger companies as clients, now it's the right time for us to move more people there. But we plan to still keep the R&D in Finland.
Yeah. So you've been all growing, quite nicely. So one of the things is that how do you find right people? So can you share, some of the good, the bad, the ugly stories that, especially, in different places, and I'm not meaning only Silicon Valley, but some other places, and, you might be totally different places. So how do you find the right people? What are your challenges there? Karoli, you want to start?
Well, yeah, I think I'm privileged here because I have this great platform that we are using called Jobbatical that has been a very great source of talent. And I mean, one of the things that we do kind of eating your own dog food thing, right? Seeing how this model could work. And I think one of the things that I have learned is just today, like even with 15 people, we have 6 nationalities, just seeing how those diverse backgrounds and knowledge, I see wisdom. I have been building businesses for a while here, but I have never had so smart people around the table just because of their diverse backgrounds. So I think it would be better to funnel the question somewhere else because I have over 45,000 people to choose from.
That's pretty good. Yeah, not too shitty, So
maybe I would maybe bring in the Silicon Valley situation here again. Like when we started looking at, obviously in our company, anyone can work anywhere. So if you come join Teleport, you can choose where to live. So in Silicon Valley, so when we were initially actually in Silicon Valley, our investors are there and there were reasons to be there. And so looking at the talent pool there, some of the smartest people are there, but not everyone goes to Stanford. So there's also a lot of people there that are just floating around because that's a cool place to be. And then there's so much competition for the talent. So even if that talent is maybe not, you can even look at mediocre talent, but if there's enough competition, then they start thinking maybe higher of themselves than maybe people in Europe, as a contrast. So you would be in the situation where getting someone to, for example, commit a day to a test job, to just sort of write things down, make sure that they're good at communications, because as a remote company, that's really important for us. That might not even fly in Silicon Valley because in that daytime they will have 3 offers on the table and someone will just after 15 minutes of coding on a whiteboard will give them the job. So I think we had a bit of frustration there in Silicon Valley when we were trying to hire that there is so much competition there, so the attitudes may be a little bit different, and we've been very happy to sort of be able to take on talent from rest of the world, and it has worked well for us so far.
Yeah, and people don't stay that much. I mean,
Yeah, that's true as well.
Yeah.
So I guess it's common for, there's even a strategy where you could stay in startups until your options cliff, and then you're off to a next one, and then in the end, that's fine in Silicon Valley, and that can work in Silicon Valley, but it's maybe for some types of companies, maybe that's not, that sort of, having people change that often is not what you want.
Yeah.
And can I add just one thing to Silver? And I think it's something like, if I think back about the experience and things that I have maybe done wrong previously in the hiring, I think one of the biggest bias what we have is that we hire people similar to us. And instead of thinking like, does my schoolmate actually know the client who lives in Brazil? So basically hiring people who not necessarily have exactly the same chemistry because of the different backgrounds, but a person who actually knows the market that you're going to. And I think this is one of the mistakes that I see in this small region where we are.
Yeah. Kristel,
Yeah, just talking about more about hiring in Silicon Valley. Yeah, I think one of the things that I've thought about a lot is US people are great salespeople, and sometimes you might get a bit like a wrong feeling about the people, that they're like exaggerating everything, but that's the way they are. But
that's too rough for the humble Nordics, right?
yeah,
'Cause,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
Exactly, but yeah, thus far I think hiring is hard everywhere. Doesn't matter whether you are in Estonia or Silicon Valley, right? Like, you know, even in Estonia we have competition. We have like all these great companies like TransferWise, Pipedrive, Skype, you name it, Teleport, Jobbatical. All these companies are fighting for talent, and but yeah, I think the most important thing when I think about myself hiring is just to be yourself and be very transparent with your potential hire about like what's going to happen in the company, and yeah, that's kind of my approach in hiring.
I just started thinking about what you said about Nordics being really shy, and I was at this party and I met this guy called Martin, and he took like 10-15 minutes to explain what he does, and like really this here and there and here and there, and it's just at the end it turned out he's the guy who's organizing Slush. It took him 10 minutes, and because I was Estonian, he was Estonian, maybe that's why it's just our way.
Yeah. Marko, you want to jump into this hiring thing? Because, I mean, you just hired a person quite recently to run the US sales, so.
Yeah, a lot of good points by everyone. I don't have much to add, but hiring in the US is very hard, especially if you're hiring someone into an executive position. We actually used a executive search recommended by our VCs, but it's still a very tough process. I went from 80 candidates to 10 candidates and spent a lot of time interviewing, and one was really shining through and was super excited at what we do and had the competencies. So then we still spent a couple of months to really get to know him before we hire to such a position. I have another point to add is that, of course, coming from Finland, which is a very small country, and people are quite networked, so there is being actually relatively easy to hire, mainly through connections of the current employees. And but I guess the main thing when hiring people as a startup is to try to hire really good people, because you are competing against the largest of the companies, and also people who are very passionate about what you're actually doing, and those two things take you far.
And if I may add, like one of the things in terms of, I mean, everybody says hiring is hard or hiring is difficult, but one of the kind of key issues that we are also kind of tackling or started to notice that there's one flaw in the hiring, and the flaw is that if you look at tech, for example, the average time people spend on one job is 18 months. For Silicon Valley developers, it's even 9 months, but we still talk about permanent job. So so when you're hiring somebody, you want them to commit to you for life, or kind of commit to you for life, but we both know it's a lie. Like,
yeah.
So why are we lying? Why won't we just agree on a journey? Like, is it 2 years? Is it 1 year? Is it 3 years? But at least be kind of open about it. So I think this tone or this conversation will be changing in the next 5 years. But this is something that nobody wants to change. Like, we just want to pretend that permanent job exists.
Or you could be, certainly open and say that, hey, you're coming to work for a startup, and maybe we will be alive after a year or no. We don't know. So, okay, so now we build the team. So, one question for the audience. So, who are entrepreneurs and startup people here? So, can you just and founders, can you raise your hand? Okay, and then who's raising funding at the moment? All right, so we'll talk about money now, and they promised to be very open about it, that, how beautiful, easy it was to get the funding and all that kind of stuff. So especially you guys who are raising funding now, so, seek these people out and talk to them. So money. Who wants to start? Karoli, you want to start how you, raised money and how easy that was and just beautiful ride? And
well,
how much did you raise?
That would be a long conversation, but I have observed the journey, because I started my first presentation about Jobbatical idea in summer 2014, and I remember very well the first conversations, my shaking hands, and the not knowing how the process works. And the best memory of, just to show maybe how it actually works, is I remember I finally got an agreement with an angel investor in Finland who agreed to have a meeting with me. So I took a ferry from Tallinn with my presentation, and the ferry should have arrived like half an hour before our meeting. The ferry was late that time. Of course it was late. So it meant that the traffic was jammed, I couldn't take a cab. So what I did, I just took my heels off, on my stockings, I just ran to the meeting. I was totally sweaty when I got there. I was red, and I just told him that I'm not nervous, and that's not the color because of the nervousness, but I just ran. But it was a good kind of icebreaker. We talked 1.5 hours, and I had the first angel investor on board. And this is a conversation, kind of inspiring people to join your journey, is a conversation that it will take time, and it's difficult. It's damn difficult to get the no's, but when you will get the yes if you're persistent enough. You will run out of money. I ran out of money, but you are able to do it. It's just standing up and just continuing if you believe in
And after that, you raised a little bit more also from the US, right?
Yes, I have raised. So we raised, and actually our investor found us through Twitter. So that was a kind of, there's a lot of work that you do yourself. You have a lot of conversations, but this conversation, and I think one of the things that I have compared to like raising funds in a way is like dating, and you date a lot of people whom you kind of think that, maybe we could work together, but you're not too comfortable, but you think it could be doable. I remember when I had the first call with our investor, Joel, by the way, somewhere in the audience, when we had the first call with Joel from USV, and I finished the call, and I said to myself, oh my God. I couldn't tell him that because it was just the beginning of the conversation, but they got it. They actually got what we want to do. And after that, just like in dating, you have to play the game that, there are others, so let's have the discussion and so on. And when you finally get there, you can say just, oh my God, we love you guys. But it's an interesting journey and a lot of learning. Every time you step out from your comfort zone, have the conversation. Every time you feel stronger for the next conversation.
Okay, who wants to share the money dating game now? So next one, Silver, you want?
Maybe I would bring in the luck angle here a little bit, like this point that I made before about being born somewhere is a matter of luck where you're born, and that defines things. I think in raising money, there's also, well, like in anything in life, there's so much luck involved, and who are the type of people you know, and what kind of connections you are, and who do you bump into, which is again why Silicon Valley stands out, because they're just the odds of bumping into people and meeting people that can change stuff, can change those things, is higher. So I think maybe we were, given that our networks and our backgrounds in Skype, I think maybe we were in the lucky position of maybe having an easier run at raising capital. And we were able to convince a bunch of angels here before we went to the VCs. It's nevertheless extremely intimidating to be in front of the guys from Andresen and Horowitz, but still I think I would consider us lucky in a sense that maybe there was less pain than typical startup people go through. So,
I want to add to Silver's point, actually. Luck has a lot to do with many things, and I think you just have to be out there. Like for our seed round, I was just busy meeting with people in San Francisco and Palo Alto area, not specifically looking for investors. We had talked to a couple of investors, and we knew that we wanted to raise a round at some point. But then I was introduced to a guy, Christian Sekestrel, by a common friend. And I was too busy, going between meetings. I didn't actually know that he was potentially looking to invest into our company. I just went to a cafe and showed our product, and he was super excited. And I was like, this is a smart guy. And he was asking a bunch of questions. And then I was like happy to leave back to my home. And he was like, you need money? And I was like, yeah, maybe. And 2 weeks after we had
maybe.
So 2 weeks after we had the term sheets. So I mean, you have to be out there and hustle around and meet a lot of people, and the right people will come on your way.
It's about increasing the surface area of luck, right?
Yeah. So it's a luck and dating so far. Then Kristel, you want to share some others?
Well, I already agree with everyone, but yeah, I think the main thing is like you always need to build your network and meet with people, and the best time to fundraise is not to do fundraising officially. So basically when our latest investor, Altos Ventures, we knew them for like 1.5 years before they finally made the investment in Testlio, and we constantly like updated them, kept them up to date, like what we've been doing in the company, how it has been growing. And so yeah, it's very important to just like be very persistent and talk with people and keep them up to date.
Okay, cool. So we have few minutes, so I want to open up that for questions from the audience. So use your opportunity, but take a picture of that. You at least get some of the emails, and they promise to answer the emails if you put in the subject Latitude59 follow up. So they'll do that. So any questions from the audience? There's one.
I think it'd be really interesting to hear from the panel. If there's one thing you could have done differently, what would that have been?
So one thing you could have done differently, what would that be? That's an easy one, right? So see they thinking. Okay. Silver.
That's a really good question. I need to think on this. It's like everything you do is a learning experience, so if you had done it differently, you wouldn't have learned. So it's like you kind of want to make some mistakes as well. So I think maybe even like spending, no, I can't say like it. I can't say I would spend less time in Silicon Valley. I can't say that. It's like everything that I've said before. It makes sense. I don't know. I have to think about it.
Marko?
I have something to say. I would have hired more slower. We ended up hiring a lot of developers at a certain time, and actually our development got much slower than faster. Sometimes in a team structure, less is more, and we ended up letting some of those people go a year later and went back to moving fast. So that's one of the things, that don't hire too fast.
But yeah, again, like I totally agree with Silver. It's a learning experience, and if we'd always be thinking about like what if, then like you couldn't focus on the things that matter. So yeah, there's actually nothing that I would be just like, I don't know. Yeah, it's a hard question. I think I've done everything. I've done my best. And I continue doing my best, so yeah.
Do you have still time for one more question, or one more question from the audience?
Can I also answer, Pekka?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sorry.
I would answer it in a way that, as I said, I started my kind of entrepreneurial journey quite early, so I kind of had the time for the good and the bad and the ugly. And I think the biggest mistake I previously done, and which I'm trying to improve myself in, is focus. Like, when I was doing my first business, I was a politician, I was a dancer, I was an entrepreneur, and I was doing my college or university at the same time. It's not doable. If you want to build a business, focus. And the biggest thing about focus is just you have to learn to say no. And I think this is so difficult. This is just learning to say no to things, which sometimes hurt other people. You just need to get better at saying no. But I think like focus is the core lesson from my previous journeys.
Okay, so we have one question.
Yes, that's me. So first of all, thank you so much for sharing your stories. It's really interesting, and congratulations with your company. It's very exciting. My question is about what is really your big end goal, or what is the what is your level of ambition, or what do you want to achieve, in a certain number of years, or what do you pitch to VCs when you go and talk about your company?
To build an iconic company.
So the question was, what was your, if I rephrase that, so what was the really your goal or mission when you started building the company? Is that correct? Yeah. It's hard to hear actually from here, so yeah.
Yeah, our goal and the big mission is we believe that people should be hired for the skills and not for the passports, and kind of enable and helping to build funnels for the team who needs a person to be able to hire the person wherever the team is located and wherever the person is from. So basically building the funnels in order to kind of get rid of the passports. We don't believe in passports at all. So this is kind of the...
Okay, thanks. Silver, you want
to? I would say we want to make every government compete for every citizen. So if you think about what's happening there, then basically all the cities have to become better, all the living environments have to become better, because if there's no friction and moving and people can easily move, then you cannot take advantage of any subgroup of individuals because they can just move. So you would have this world where everybody's trying the living environment better. So that's our vision.
Yeah, and our vision is to really just enable mobile app companies to deliver high-class experiences for their users and do it the best way we can.
Sorry, I actually heard the question wrong, so I'll answer a second time. So our vision was to basically everyone has an app idea, and also inside businesses, and we wanted to democratize and make it possible for everyone with certain technical skill sets to build what they imagine would be a very nice application or solution.
All right, thank you so much, panel. Let's give a good
you, Pekka.
hand for these. So these are the next unicorns. Follow them.
Guys, what will happen to the big office buildings when everybody turns to be a nomad? They will be turned down or turned into Airbnb flats?
You're getting things wrong. It doesn't mean that everybody moves in one place. They are moving around. So it means that the office buildings will be much more diverse, and the way we are kind of handling them will be different. So that's my answer.
Very serious answer. Thank you very much. Give them a big applause.